Hi, welcome to Raw Dogging, a podcast not about sex. Well, not every episode at least. Here we'll navigate through relationships, finding yourself, and living in a social media world in your 20s, all while having a mental illness or two. I'm excited to lay out my emotions, completely bare and naked, and ready to be raw dogged with all of you. So thanks for listening. It's lovely to have you here. Hi, welcome to second episode of Raw Dogging. So I guess today will be the biggin. I'm gonna talk about mental health. So buckle up. I'm not gonna talk about like mental health in general because I'm not a professional, so don't don't take everything that I say seriously. I'm gonna just be talking about like my experiences with mental health, my history with mental health, and how it's affected my world. And I'll talk a little bit about the mental health in general and in the world's perspective and everything, but it'll mostly be just about me. It's gonna be real personal. I was nervous for the first episode, but this one makes me so fucking nervous. I don't I don't really talk about this kind of stuff, but in the spirit of raw dogging and what I want my platform to be, and what I want not just my podcast but like my whole online presence of just being open and honest and a safe place for everyone, and everyone feeling a little less alone. So here it is. I'm so nervous for this, mostly because I'm nervous that people that I know are going to listen to this, and like I'm so much better at explaining my issues to strangers online, or like strangers in public. Like I am the what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, like the perfect example of people fucking oversharing to people that they like just met in a public space and probably will never meet those people again. I have overshared to plenty of those people in my life. So so let's just get into it. Um so when I think back of like when I probably first started noticing that like something was wrong, I feel like it was just I was so young. I mean, probably early middle school, maybe even. It's hard for me to pinpoint a time because I do feel like I've had depression for so long that there's a time in my life that's just like completely blacked out, and there's multiple times of those. And like early childhood, middle school, like all of high school is like a blur. Like I remember high school, but I also forget. I remember just like I remember that it happened, and I remember things that happened, but I don't remember it, if that makes sense. But elementary school and middle school, I couldn't tell you a fucking thing that happened in those years. I do not remember it. Um so it's hard to pinpoint a time in my life where I was like, okay, this is when it started, because it's depression has just like been around for so long in my life that it's like it's just it's blacked out in my memory. But I think if I had to, it'd probably be like when I first started middle school. So like in 6th grade. I don't even know how old you are when that happens, but around that time period of my life, I guess maybe like what, that's like 11, 12, 13, maybe. I don't know. Um and I just like remember feeling sad, but I felt like it was just like more than that. Like there was just like, it wasn't just oh, I'm sad, and I like could pinpoint a reason as to why I'm sad. I just felt sad, but it just felt so much more like heaviness than that. And I remember feeling just like so lost and confused because I mean, I was fucking 12 years old. Like that's not a normal, or it doesn't feel like a normal experience or emotion for that age. And it definitely felt even less normal because I felt like everyone else around me was just, being a kid. And I just felt very confused and just didn't feel like I fit in. And not only that, it was just, I was so young that like I didn't have the words. I didn't have the vocabulary or the understanding of what was happening or why I felt that way or what I even was feeling, which made it so much harder. And this was like I'm not old. I'm not fucking old by any means. I'm 25 years old. But my 25-year-olds and other people like around my age, we are growing up in our 20s in a world where like mental health is taken seriously. There's a lot more openness to talk about it, and there's a lot more willingness to treat it as like an actual sickness, and it's not stigmatized so much anymore. I think that there's still a lot of growth that needs to be done with it, but it's definitely way better than it ever has been. But so I feel lucky that I'm growing up now in that area. But when I was in middle school, it was not like that. Like I'm from the age group that kind of grew up in both sides of the spectrum. Like when I was in middle school, mental health was not a fucking thing that like people talked about or that you knew about. And it wasn't like, like I saw older members of my family probably struggling with the same kind of stuff, and it wasn't talked about. It wasn't communicated. It definitely wasn't communicated in schools. It wasn't on TV, like movies, anything. Like it just wasn't talked about. So like I had no idea what was going on. I didn't have the vocab, I didn't have the resources, and I just felt so lonely and confused. So I remember like probably, I mean, all of middle school, definitely all of high school, just were crying every single night and just feeling like I was like being swallowed by this horrible, sickening feeling of like feeling just so lost, so sad. And I cried every single night because I felt like I couldn't go talk to anyone about it because like what would I say? I would the only vocabulary that I would know to say is just like I feel so sad, and I just like felt like it wasn't a good enough reason, or it didn't make sense to me, so I couldn't make it make sense to other people. So I cried every single night from 12 years old to like 18 years old. Now I fucking cry like every 2 nights every week, but that's a different story. um and it was hard because I was like really struggling, but I felt like I wasn't being noticed at all because I was a straight A student. I played sports all year round, and I took both of those very seriously. Like I studied hard. I wanted to get good grades. My sports were like my entire life. I played volleyball all year round. I played softball. What else did I do? I feel like I did other things. Anyways, volleyball was definitely my life though. So that's like really the only important one. And I played it all year long. I did clubs. I did it very competitively. I played it in college. Like I was like really into playing sports and doing well and being able to use playing sports and doing very well academically to get into a college and be able to have my pick and decide where I actually would want to go. And I had a lot of friends. I never struggled with making friends. I never struggled with being like in a group. And I had like multiple different groups. I had friends that I played volleyball with. I had friends that I played softball with. And I had like friends who were in like the higher level classes with me. And then I had like my main group of friends. And then I had just random friends. Like I had a lot of friends, and I went out. Like I was the typical high school student of going to fucking parties, and like I was also the typical small town high school parties where you're getting drunk and in the middle of the field by a bonfire. Like that was a typical thing for me, and like it felt like I was handling all that really well because that's not an easy thing to do. And I was taking AP classes in high school, college courses in high school. Like I was juggling a lot, and I felt like I was doing well at it because, again, I just felt like I don't know if I felt like if I did all those things, then like the depression would just go away. Or maybe I was doing it because I didn't want anyone to see that outside of all of this, I was like really fucking struggling. Like I didn't want to admit to myself, and I definitely didn't want to admit to anyone else. Um, but like it was like a fight to do any of those things. And I don't know, it was just really hard. And so for depression, like I remember having depression for a good chunk of my life. I didn't really notice anxiety like being a really big issue in my life, honestly, until I got to college. Like I felt like I always had maybe a little bit of a like, social anxiety, which is weird to say because I just said like I had a lot of friends and I made friends pretty well. Um pretty good, pretty well. I felt like that sentence didn't make sense. Whatever. Um but I felt like it was always manageable. I've like in high school my social anxiety was more of uncomfortability. Like I didn't like public speaking. I took a college course in high school, public speaking. It fucking sucked. I walked up in front of the class and like my entire body was shaking so bad that when I spoke, my voice was shaky as well. I couldn't like make eye contact with anyone. It was horrible. I hated walking like in front of the bleachers at a sporting event. Like I hated that. That's like to this day I still fucking hate doing that. That's like my worst nightmare. Um and I definitely felt like just I don't know. I felt like it was just being uncomfortable, and I think it was more of just like not being confident in who I was yet and like confident in my body and just being like the badass bitch that I am now, you know? Like I just wasn't confident enough maybe in high school. So I think that's kind of where that anxiety kind of stemmed from, but it just never felt like a big issue in my life. But when I got to college, let me fucking tell you, um, I struggled socially. Like, I felt, I just like felt even more of an outcast because of it. Like, going off of like depression and like not knowing like how to deal with it and like not knowing how to express it. Like, when I got into college and I felt like my anxiety just got so much worse, I just felt like fucking so weird and just like didn't feel like I could make friends, and which just in turn made the depression even worse. Um but eventually I realized school was not for me. I was not cut out for school, which is okay. If you're not cut out for school, you're not cut out for school. Or if you just like you're just like fuck school, that's not something I want to do, then fucking don't. I mean, look at me. I am a 25-year-old college dropout and I'm fucking living in France, living my dream. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know. College is just like, college is a scam, but we'll save that for a different episode too. We don't have to get into that now. So I realized like school really wasn't for me, but I did keep going. So I was on, I did go to college for a year at like a really small private school in Florida. And I didn't do well in that school. I felt like it was really big on what's it called? Like Greek life, and that Greek life that's that's not my scene at all. It's fine if that's your scene, but it's not mine. And I have a lot of friends from not a lot. Again, I didn't do all that well at that school, but I had like a group of like girlfriends from that school, and they were all in Greek life, and I loved them dearly. Like they're I don't talk to them that often anymore, but I still hold such a special place, and like every time I see something from them on any social media or anything, like it makes my heart happy and I'm cheering for them all the time. But other than that, I really like I felt like I just couldn't connect to a lot of the people there, and I tried to go to the parties and I would just like feel so fucking awkward and like weird, and I like didn't talk to anyone, and I would just end up going home. And I just like I I just stayed home most of the time, hung out with my one friend that I met cuz she was also a psych major, and we just like fucking didn't really do a whole lot, and that just made the depression even worse. And I thought what was going to fix that was transferring to University of Central Florida, which is like a big fucking school. It's huge and there's so many people, and I just felt like that was like going to be more on my like level, which I did. I feel like I did well there because it wasn't just Greek life people. Like I started playing volleyball there. I met volleyball people. I could meet people that were also not in Greek life because there's, more types of people at University of Central Florida. And I definitely did better there. And so it got like my depression and anxiety got like a little bit better, but then, it's just like putting a band-aid on the issue. So I think that is probably when I first remember like having like suicidal thoughts. My first semester, second year of college was like, at first I was like, oh yeah, I'm fucking doing better. Like this is the environment I needed to be in. That was obviously the only fucking issue in my life. It wasn't. So that was probably the first time I remember, anyways, having like suicidal thoughts. And second semester starts like in January, and I remember like the first week or something of February calling my dad and just like bawling. I mean, like I haven't cried that good in a very long time. I need a good cry like that because I had a meltdown, and I was just like, I don't think if I continue to be in school, like I'm going to continue living. Like this is not for me. I just cannot do this anymore. It's not the only issue in my life, but it is becoming the main issue right now. Like I just can't continue going like that. And I was like crying because I felt guilty, because I was like, how am I going to tell my parents I'm quitting school? Like they've done so much for me. They've gotten me into college. Like, what are they going to say? And God bless my father. He was just like, if it's not making you happy, then why the fuck are you doing it still? And I was like, oh, okay. So I quit that day, and that's still my favorite moment with my father. I don't even know if he remembers that conversation, or if he remembers saying that to me, or if he even remembers that he was being like that calm and sweet and understanding with me. But if he doesn't, I definitely do remember that, Dad. So thank you. I'm pretty sure that was like the moment that saved my life. So, ew, I'm gonna fucking start crying. But yeah, so I quit school that day. And I felt like this huge weight was off my shoulders. I felt so much better. But that feeling never lasts too long if you're untreated depressed, and or if you're just like pretending like you don't even fucking have depression. Like it's not gonna last that long. So I felt like after that happened, and I tried to get into other things. Like I tried to go to cosmetology school, which lasted like fucking 2 weeks. And then I tried to do something else, but I kind of forget, what was it? Oh, I tried to work for this like marketing firm, which I was actually really fucking excited about. Like I was like, okay, this is like something I could do. I got the job and I fucking have no experience. I'm a college dropout, and I was actually so excited for it. But then it turned out to be like it wasn't actually a marketing firm. It was like where I would have to go, like companies hired our firm, but it was where they hired us to go show their products off and like those kiosk kind of things in malls or Kmart or like Sam's Club or Costco Club, stuff like that. And it was just like you're working that booth and you're trying to like sell the product that way. And I was like, oh, that's not what I thought this job was going to be. So I didn't last that long in that job either, but I don't blame myself for that one because I was excited. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be, and it didn't work out. So, and I was doing those things because I was like, okay, so my my parents are cool with me quitting college. And at this time, I'm 19 years old. And I was like, my parents are cool with me quitting college, but like, I need to show them that I'm going to be doing something else. I'm not just going to be like a fucking bum living down here in Florida doing nothing and like just like letting them like pay my rent, pay groceries or whatever. Like, I'm just like, whatever, fuck them. Was not going to do that. No. So I was like, I literally, like, the very next day after I quit school, I came to dad and was like, okay, so this is what I'm doing. And at that time, it was the cosmetology school. And I had stayed up all night long, like, researching how many hours, like, what I'd have to pay, what I needed to do, and all that kind of stuff. 2 weeks later, that didn't work out. Tried the marketing firm, that didn't work out. And I was like, okay, I don't need to know the whole point, not even the whole point, but, like, this is such a good time in my life to just, like, chill the fuck out. Like, get my head on straight, like, just focus on getting myself better. So that's when I started serving. I got my first serving job, and I just started living down in Florida and was serving, working a fucking ridiculous amount of hours every single week. It's actually disgusting thinking about how much I was working. But that was just because, like, I was just like, if I'm not doing anything else, I'm just going to be working all the time and making money and making sure that I'm not ever going to have to ask my parents for money. Which didn't happen. I had to ask my parents for money for a couple times. I'm not ashamed to admit that. We're all fucking down sometimes, but, you know, I was embarrassed to do it. It's not something I am, like, gloating about, but it did happen. But, yeah, so I felt better when I started doing that. But again, like, putting band-aids on the issue was never going to fix my depression. Like, so I think that, like, once I started serving and realizing that, like, I'm still fucking sad. Like, I quit school. I'm just working now, being able to enjoy myself with the money that I'm making, but I'm still fucking, like, something's still wrong. So I think that was, like, the first time that, like, I said out loud, like, I think I have an issue. I think I might be depressed. Like, I need to kind of figure this out. And I just think it was, like, hard for me to admit that any earlier in my life, because growing up, I was the third of 4 kids. And I think I took it upon myself to, no one asked me to do this. No one pressured me to do this. I don't know what it was, but I took it upon myself to just try to, like, not make my parents' life harder, which in hindsight, I definitely made my parents' lives harder in different ways. Like, you know, my 2 older siblings were, not goody two-shoes, but, like, goody two-shoes. They didn't party. They didn't go out and do things. They just, you know, they stayed in their lane, and that's what they did. When I got in high school, I got drunk on weekends. I was doing wild shit or bad kid shit. I don't think that you should call a kid a bad kid, because whatever, but, you know, that's the stuff I was doing. I never lied to my parents. I told my parents where I was going all the time and told them what I was planning on doing. Well, let me be honest now. I definitely lied to them about a few stuff, but whatever. I'm fine. But I took it upon myself to just be okay. Like, my parents, this is not a dig to my parents at all, but, like, my parents looked at me in high school like, oh, she's doing well. She has good grades. She's playing volleyball. She's doing well in volleyball. She has a lot of friends. She's going out. She's hanging out with them and stuff. Like, I think they looked at me as being okay. So I was like, okay, I'm fine then. Like, I'm good. And my siblings had other issues of their own, mental health issues, and just, you know, personal issues that needed my parents' attention. And then so did my little brother. And there was just things that my parents needed to really, like, deal with and delve deep into those issues. And I just felt like, okay, so I can't make it harder for them. I have to be quiet. I look like I'm happy with my life. So, like, let's just be happy with it. And again, like, no one asked me to do that, so I don't know why I did that, but I did. And it was really hard. Like, I wanted to be open and honest, but like I couldn't. I felt like it was my duty to just shut up and be happy and let my parents deal with the other issues that they had to deal with, and they not mine. So I didn't say I needed help when I wished that I did. I wish that I admitted to them way earlier than I did, because honestly, like, I resented my parents in high school. Like, I I my parents and I, like, and again, they probably don't even remember it this way, because this was all in my fucking head. Like, this is me creating issues out of me not admitting that I needed help. Like, I resented my parents because I just felt like if they just noticed that I wasn't happy, even though that I'm telling them I'm happy and I'm outwardly seemingly like I'm happy, like, I just wish that they had noticed. And I wish that they noticed I was hurting and I was in so much pain and I was crying myself to sleep every night. Like, I resented them for that. And I ended up not having like a good relationship with my parents, even like on my end, at least. Again, like, maybe they don't even remember it that way. And I know that, like, when I was in high school, my parents and I got into arguments and fights a lot, and like, I felt like I was butting heads with my parents and butting heads with everyone. And I know for in like hindsight that it was just me hurting. Like, hurt people, and I just felt, and it was just me, like, being so angry with them that they weren't noticing me. And that was like a big issue in my life anyways, growing up as like the third kid. I just felt like sometimes I was like pushed to the side because I, again, just wasn't outwardly showing that I had these issues going on. So I just always felt like I was pushed to the side. And maybe that was just me doing that to myself. Maybe I was pushing myself to the side. But I like really, and I remember just getting mad at them too. Like, a lot of the arguments would be like, sometimes I wouldn't want to go to volleyball practice when I was like club volleyball. So my parents had to pay for that for me to do it. And like, they'd get mad at me and they'd be like, well, you have to go. Like, this isn't something that you can just like skip out on or whatever. And I'd get so angry because I was just like, why can't you see? Like, I don't want to go because I'm fucking like so sad right now. Like, and that's where a lot of, or like when I didn't want to go to school because I so fucking like swallowed by this darkness and like cloud and heaviness, and like there'd be a whole week where I just wouldn't want to go to school, and I'd get so angry because I was like, why can't you just see like why I don't want to go? And it really hurt our relationship and with really like everyone around me, because I was just so resentful and angry and depressed and confused, and it was just so many emotions. And yeah, so first time that I actually opened up to my parents was when I quit college, I think. And then like that conversation with my dad about wanting to quit, and then I think from there it kind of just like opened up this whole communication with my parents. I remember calling them all the time, like crying, like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I'm struggling. I'm just having a really bad day. Like, I started being more honest with them, and I think that like that's what healed. And again, like, I don't even think my parents think that this is what the relationship was, because it was all in my fucking head, like, doing this, like, me feeling resentful for them for not noticing that I was depressed, but like, I didn't fucking tell them I was depressed. So like, they're not mind readers, like. So me being more honest when I was down in Florida, away from them after quitting college, like, I really felt like I was like, okay, like, I have a good relationship with my parents. Like, I remember thinking like, oh my God, my parents are fucking awesome. Like, they listen to me all the time. When I'm sit there, like, call dad like 5 times in a day just crying because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with my life, and like, I feel like I'm struggling. I feel like I'm the only person feeling this way. He was so patient with me. Mom calls me and like tells me like, you know, like when I was your age, I was this, blah, blah, blah. And like, I was like, oh my God, my parents are like open to me being honest with them. Like, what the hell? Why has this taken me so long? So I feel like I do have a really good relationship with my parents. I've always loved them, but I feel like I love them even more now. And, you know, take this as just be honest with your parents because they're not fucking reading your minds. If you feel resentful toward your parents because they haven't noticed things, just remember like they're people too. They have their own shit, they have their own problems, and like just because they might be dealing with problems of your siblings doesn't mean that they're not willing to help with your problems as well. So that's my life lesson of the day. Mom and dad, if you're listening to this, I love you guys, and I know that we haven't really I'm like just airing my shit out on this podcast, and I haven't really talked to mom and dad about stuff like this because I just haven't, because again, it's so much easier for me to talk to strangers than it is to talk to people that I know and love. But yeah. Anyways, let's get past that. So, it's still hard for me to admit that I need help. It's easy for me to admit that I have issues, but admitting that I need help is like a whole nother fucking story for me. And I don't know why. I don't know what that is. Like, I can tell anyone and everyone I'm fucking depressed. And like, yeah, I cry all the time. And like, there are days where I'm not even days, like fucking weeks and months sometimes. There's been really dark times in my life where it's just like been months on end of me just laying in bed in the dark and being fucking like swallowed by everything. And that's easy for me to admit, but admitting that I need help is like bizarre to me. So when I finally got the help that I needed, it was actually smoking weed. So I talked about this. I have been smoking weed. Oh my God, Mom, please skip this part. I have been smoking weed since I was like, I forget, like 12, 13, 14 years old. I'm not going to actually name the age because Mom probably is listening to this. Anyways. And so I've been like around weed for a long time. And I think when this happened, I was maybe 22. So, oh my God. So fucking weed has changed. Like people who are even older than me and have been smoking for a long time, please tell me you understand where I'm coming from when I say like the weed that you can get nowadays is so different than the weed that used to be. Like even when I first started college, like 18, 17, 18, 19, the weed was so much different than the weed it is now. Like the weed was good. I fucking loved smoking. But then right around when I was 22, I just felt like the weed that I started smoking just was so different, and like I didn't feel good after I smoked it, and like I got to the point where I was just so, it really made my anxiety even worse. Like I had anxiety. If I've had panic attacks and anxiety attacks, but then the weed that right when I was like 22 made them so much worse. I've never had that happen to me, but ever since then, it's happened to me multiple times. Like I haven't smoked I'm 25 and I haven't smoked in 3 years. So literally right after this incident happened, I stopped because I was like, this fucking sucks. It's not even fun to smoke anymore. But anyways, so I smoked one night and I had the worst panic attack. I've had worse ones since then, but the worst panic attack that I've had up to that point in my life. So bad, I had my roommate drive me to the emergency room because I legitimately thought, I was like, I am fucking dying. Like, I'm not getting any air in my lungs. I was like, I feel like I'm having a heart attack. I was like, I don't, one, if not both of those things are happening to me right now. Like, you need to take me to the emergency room. Obviously, none of those things are happening. Just had a panic attack. And I don't mean saying just had a panic attack to make light of the situation because it's not, but I make light of my own situation. So when that happened, the doctor there was like, okay, so you have panic attacks. He asked me if this was the first one. I was like, no, I don't think so. Like, I think I've had them before, but I'm not really sure because no one's like explained that to me before. Um, so he recommended me go see my like doctor or whatever, go see my doctor. And that's when I got diagnosed with anxiety and depression. So I say like I do think I've been depressed since I was 12 years old, but I didn't get diagnosed until I was 22. Um, that's when I got my medicine too. The first time I've ever gotten prescribed medicine. I would tell you what I got prescribed, but I couldn't fucking tell you. I don't remember. I probably wouldn't ever be able to pronounce it anyways. Um, but so I ended up moving, just in a different place in Florida. Uh, and honestly, it got to my medicine ran out, and I didn't get it like moved from the pharmacy from where I lived in Florida to a closer pharmacy than where I moved to. So that didn't happen. So it wasn't convenient for me to go pick up my like new medicine. And then eventually and then I moved back up to Maryland, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm just not having my medicine anymore. And I haven't been on my medicine since. So medicine does definitely help me, and I don't recommend not being on your medicine. If you need your medicine, take the medicine. And I know therapy helps. So, but like that's the hardest part, right? Like I know both those things help me, but like going to the doctor and being like, "Hey, this is the medicine that helps," or "Do you know of a better medicine?" or whatever, like making that first step, that's the fucking hardest part. Finding a therapist is like, oh my god. It's like it's like a certain type of hell, honestly, because there's so many of them. And it's like so difficult because like having a therapist, that's a really personal connection, and like that's like someone that becomes very fucking up close and personal with you. And that's not something that I take lightly. I don't think other people should take that lightly either. So like finding a therapist is hard because you can look online, you can read their little bio, um but you won't know if it's a good match until you make your first appointment with them. And if it's not a good match, no hard feelings to them, but like go fucking find a better one, you know? Like you need someone that you feel comfortable with. You need someone that you can feel like you can actually open up and be honest with them, because if you're seeing a therapist that you don't even feel like you can be honest with, there's like no point in even seeing that therapist. Like you're not going to get out what you need to get out of it. Um so that gets like so tedious. It's so annoying. And oh, the absolute worst. My best friend Maggie and we talked about this one time, like getting like a rejection letter from a therapist, like, oh, sorry, I have no like spots available for you, but good luck. Like, I don't know why I take that so personal, but I do. And, so like, I get that it's tedious and it's fucking hard to do. And it's just like, and like I said, like if you find a therapist and you end up not vibing with them and having to go find a new one, you're just like, oh, I fucking just did this. I don't want to fucking do it again. And it can get expensive. Oh, god damn, it's expensive. So yeah, that's my little rant of being not medicated or in therapy, which I know that I should be, but I'm not. Hence raw dogging. Another little, you know. But yeah, I think that although, like I mentioned, like the world that we live in is so much better at being open and accepting of mental health and realizing that it is a fucking real issue and people do struggle. I also think though that we need to do better still. And that's okay. We all are a work in progress. So I think like being understanding that people like me don't want to just sit there and find a therapist or go and pick up their prescription. So like being understanding that people don't want to fucking do things. If they don't want to do the things that they know is helping them, they're definitely not going to want to fucking go out every night or go to dinner. Or if your friends are like, listen, like, I know we had plans, but can we rain check? Be understanding. Don't fucking make them feel guilty, because they probably already feel guilty about the fact that they're canceling because of an issue that they're dealing with. Like, let's not do that. Just like keep reaching out, you know? If just being like, hey, that's fucking okay, and then invite them still. Don't stop inviting people because they're canceling. Like, that shit's the worst, because it's like when they finally do get out of that state or out of like that little funk or rut or whatever they call it, and you had stopped inviting them, they're gonna feel so bad about reaching out. And maybe that's just me. Then maybe this is just a personal experience, but don't stop reaching out, because they're gonna be so grateful for that. And I think that affordability and availability is a huge thing that we still need to work on when it comes to mental health, because availability, and not like, you know, therapists fucking giving me a rejection email because I get like a therapist is, you know, if they don't have a spot open, then they don't have a spot open. I just mean availability for all walks of life, because it's the affordability is what causes the availability. It's fucking expensive, and like I want to pay people for their job that they're doing, but like there needs to be like better. I don't know the fucking solution, okay? Because I'm not I'm not a genius over here, but like whether that's insurance or if there's just a better way of like paying for it, I think that would help the affordability, which in turns would help availability. And then just keep normalizing the conversation about mental health. Like, we're doing a really great job at that, but it's still just, you know, it just, don't lose the steam. Is that the phrasing that I'm looking for? Right? Don't lose the steam of whatever. Okay, scratch that. Just don't stop normalizing the conversation. And then make sure, like, if you have resources, share them. I don't have resources. I'm so sorry, but I don't. Like, if there's resources of like communities or groups or whatever it might be, like if you feel like you have something that will help people, fucking share it. Don't be selfish. So where I am now, like I mentioned, I am still not medicated and I'm still not in therapy. I will be. I know that I should be. I don't recommend it, but this is my reality. Yeah, I do want to get back to it. I think it's important for me too, but in my life right now, it's just like not the first option. I'm trying to find other solutions for the time being. So here are my solutions. They don't always fucking work. I'm still very much struggling. I'm doing so much better than I was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, if I honestly don't know if you were to ask me if I were to be alive 2 years ago, my answer definitely would have been no. So I'm very grateful to still be here. I'm glad that I am, but I am doing so much better, and I think there's plenty of reasons as to why. But I am struggling still, and I very much have days where I feel like I am back in that spot where I was 2 years ago. So some of the things that I do, I try to have a regular schedule. I don't always stick with it, but I really try to, whether that's, you know, doing like a morning skincare routine. That helps me feel like, because if I don't do my morning skincare routine, I stay in my pajamas, I stay in bed, and then I don't fucking do anything for the whole day. And that's not good for me. So I know if I get up, wash my face, do my skincare routine, make my skin all glowy, and I feel good, and I feel like I'm like, okay, I look good. I'm going to feel good today. I eat breakfast every day, because if I eat breakfast every day, then that just sets me up for eating for the whole day. Because if I do not eat breakfast, then I just like probably will end up not eating for the rest of the day, which is a very big issue for me. So I eat breakfast. If, I have like a weekly schedule now, because Hunter and I are doing stuff like podcasting, YouTubing, and all that kind of stuff. And we share equipment. So now we have a weekly schedule to make sure that we both can do the things that we need to do in the week, which is very, very helpful. But I also have days where, because I'm also the type of person that doesn't like too much of a schedule, because then I get bored. And then if I get bored, I end up not doing anything. So having a weekly schedule has helped, but also scheduling like rest days. Like if you pick a day, whether it's the same day every week or if it's a different day every week, whatever it is, schedule rest days, because that's so important, because then you know that you have a day where you can just fucking veg out and not do anything, or do the things that you push to the side, or you just like were too busy, or if even it's just like a day to clean, whatever it might be. Schedule those days, because if you don't and you overwhelm yourself and you end up resting and doing absolutely nothing on a day that you scheduled to do things, you end up just feeling like shit. And then you end up maybe doing that too much. Like you're like, okay, well, I didn't fucking do it. So the next day you're like, oh, fuck, I'm behind schedule. And, you get overwhelmed and then end up not doing anything for days. And then you start over. It's like a cycle. Working out. Everyone knows that working out releases endorphins. Right? I hope I didn't. I hope that's not wrong and I don't sound dumb. But that definitely helps. I need to do better on that one. I was working out like every day for 2 hours. I was like fucking obsessive about it for a really long time. Right after my really bad breakup, I guess that was like 4 years ago. 4, I think. And let me tell you, that was a shit ass breakup. I'm not going to talk about it in this episode. We will talk about that one, but that's like a whole fucking tornado. But I like me working out. Let me fucking tell you, I felt good. I fucking looked good. And that should be like my only sign that I need to start working out again. Me and Hunter try to go on walks. We don't go every day, even though I tell him all the time I want to go on every day. And it's my fault that we don't go every day. It's not Hunter's fault. Hunter asked me, he's like, okay, we're going to go on our walk. And, I found an excuse not to. So it's my issue still. But working out, whatever that might mean to you, going to the gym, doing yoga, Pilates is like the big new thing, or just walking, whatever it is, like move your body. Eating normally, I don't know if that's just like me or like that's just like a me thing, but like having a regular eating schedule where I'm eating things that actually make me feel healthy and like make me feel full and energized and just make me feel good, that's like a big thing, because the days where I like feel kind of lazy and then end up like not eating at all or just eating like junk, oh my god, I feel so bad that day, and then the next, and then it ended up going even more because the next day I feel horrible. So I end up not eating again, and it's just like a real bad cycle. So maybe try that. Try having a regular schedule and like having like ideas to cook when you're not feeling great. Like I have things that like are my go-to meals now when I'm like not having a good day, and like I'm like, okay, well, this is an easy meal and it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm full, makes me feel energized. It makes me feel like I'm just like I did the right thing for the day. Do at least one thing daily that makes you happy. I don't care what it is. If it's like watching an episode of your favorite TV show, watching reality shows, taking a shower, taking a bath, meditating, journaling. I cuddle with my cats. That's my one thing that I do every single day. Yeah, just do at least one thing that if you do it, you're going to be happy. Like, even if it's just happy for that moment, fucking do it every day. Writing and journaling. I honestly think, like, journaling is a really big one because, like, I journal. I try to journal every day. I don't do it, and I go through phases where I'm really good at it, and then I go through phases where it's like, oh my god, I haven't fucking written a journal entry for, like, months. But it's really nice because, like, I'll open up my journal and then I'll read, like, entries from, a couple months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, and, like, the progress that I made since those first couple entries is, like, so insane to me. And then it's also nice just to see, like, the issues that you were dealing with. Are they the same issues? Have you done anything? It's just, and it's good to just, like, dump, just dump all the shit that you've been thinking of the day and then forget about it, or forget about it until you can, like, deal with it. I don't know. I always give myself grace. Well, not always. I'm not fucking perfect, but I try to give myself grace and, realize that, like, this is not a linear progression. It is fucking everywhere and anywhere it wants to be. I'm going to have really bad days. I'm going to have really good days. I'm going to have just days where it's neither. And that's what I hope for. Just like, remember to, like, forgive yourself, give yourself grace. If you need to have a day, take the fucking day. And then make sure you open up to people that care about you, that genuinely care about your well-being and wants to hear about it. And, like, just open up to people. I'm telling you, I opened up to my parents, opened up to my fiance, and it's the best thing. So at the end of this, I just hope that you realize that you're not alone. You have people out there that want to listen, and if you think, like, people will notice you struggling, maybe they will. There's plenty of people who will notice those things. But, like, not everyone's a mind reader. So just open up and realize that, like, people care about you and love you, and they want to help you or deal with things with you or just listen to you. Don't push people away, even if you don't have the words. Like, there's plenty of times where I want to talk to Hunter about things, but I'm like, I don't have the words right now, so can you just let me ramble, or can you just sit here and quiet with me? Whatever it is. Get help. If you need help, get it. There's no shame in it. And even if it's like I say, like, get help, and here I am not medicated or in therapy like I should be. But so even if it's you going out and getting help or asking someone, like, hey, I know that I need to do these things. Can you help me do them? Whatever you need help with, get the fucking help. And be open still. Have these conversations with yourself, with people. Share mental health issues. Make sure that this conversation doesn't stop. Find things that make you feel good, and yeah, just be nice to people. Make sure you never know what other people are going through, and that's my shit. I wasn't going to do this. I wasn't planning on doing this, but it just feels right. I wrote a poem when we first came over to France. I was, like, having my bad times, and I wrote this poem, and it felt really good to write it. I'm in no way a poet at all, but it felt good to write this, and I don't know, I just wanted to share it because maybe someone else will relate to it, and I don't know. I'm just going to share it. So here's my poem. There is no title, but here we go. I am surrounded by darkness. Everything is silent, yet it's still too loud for me to rest. I trudge through the muck only to realize that I am in fact stuck. How long have I gone on like this? Does anyone notice? Is everyone else living in ignorant bliss? I scream. I scream until my throat is burning, until my words are nothing but a dream. Is this fog really here? I'm afraid I will suffocate if the soon does not clear. How long have I been in this place? For as long as I can remember, I've been a prisoner in its cold embrace. I need to get out. I cannot keep going on like this. If I begin to sprout, put me out of my misery. The only way to end this, I fear, is trickery. To trick my mind with feigned sunshine doses, or have fate redesigned. So, those will be my ending thoughts. Thank you so much for listening. It's lovely to have you here, and I will catch you next time.